Welcome back to another Sanskrit taxonomy. We are going to coin some words for animals in the Galapagos. Eventually, we'll be practicing our vocabulary with the real animals. Now, let's start with suliforms. These are anhingas, gannets, and blue-footed boobies, and frigate birds. So, the only animal in India that's in suliform is the anhinga, which in Sanskrit is madrugu. So, to generalize it, so it encompasses all the suliforms, we can use madrugadrisha, which means form like an anhinga. And that's the order name. So let's name each of the suliforms. Anhinga is madrugu, gannet. This we have to borrow from Old Norse. The gannets do not live in India. And that's sula. I'm trying to avoid borrowing from English. So it would be sula madrugu, meaning a gannet, anhinga, or gannet, which is like an anhinga. And then you have the pájaros piqueros, just Spanish for, you know what, it's going to get me demonetized, but you know what it is. This we can borrow from a Hawaiian word for the brown-footed booby, which is just a, so it'd be madrugu. Next is our frigate bird. Now, a frigate is a warship, so yuddhanauka, which literally in Sanskrit is warship. Now, this is actually not my word that I coined, but already Indian languages coined this as a neologism, and that's what I'm just reusing for myself. Let's try this. Blue-footed booby would be, well, blue-foot means nilapad, and then booby is madrugu, so blue-footed booby is nilapad madrugu. Frigate bird, well, the picture is of a magnificent frigate board, so in Sanskrit it would be something like mahadbhuta yuddhanaukavi. Now, Fringillidae and Thraupidae, which is finches and tanagers respectively. Alfred Link's dictionary, which is a compilation of bird names in Sanskrit, gives Kalavinga as the name for the scarlet finch. Now, let's generalize it to all finches, so Kalavinga maya, which would be Fringillidae. Tanagers. Tanagers don't live in India. They're native to the Americas. So let's use a Native American language. We are going to use the Tupi language, and it's actually from their language that the modern English word tanager came from. Rendered in Sanskrit, that would be Tangara, so it'd be Tangara Pakshi, and the family would be Tangaramaya. Thraupidae is Tangaramaya. Fun fact, when Darwin landed on the Galapagos and saw the finches, newsflash, there weren't finches, they were tanagers. So Darwin's finches should be called Darwin's tanagers, or Darwinasya Tangaraha. Now other birds. The Galapagos penguin, the only penguin found very far north in the equatorial regions. We shall call it Galapaga Ahima Himacharavi. So I borrowed the name Galapagos and into Sanskrit rendered it. The word Ahima means no snow, because this is a penguin which usually is supposed to walk on snow, hence Himacharavi, but this one does not walk in snow because it lives near the equator. So that's Ahima. So Ahima Himacharavi. If you watched my previous Sanskrit taxonomy videos, you would know that Himacharavi means bird that walks on snow. The next bird to coin would be the albatross, or the waves albatross. Albatross I have previously coined as Vayu Vahaka Pakshi, or Vayu Vahavi, which means carried by the wind, because albatrosses use air currents to help them fly. And Urmichitra would be waves, or alternatively, we could use Galapaga Vayu Vahavi, meaning albatross of the Galapagos, which makes sense. Oh, let's coin some words for some reptiles. The Galapagos tortoise, from which the actual island gets its name. Galapagos is Spanish for tortoise, or turtle. Well, in Sanskrit, there's no difference between a turtle and a tortoise, actually. Tortoises are technically turtles. So the animal will be called Galapaga Mahakurma, which means the great tortoise of the Galapagos, because these things are very massive. The next animal is the marine iguana, the only lizard to sport in the ocean, and they are exclusively to the Galapagos. Thus, we shall call it in Sanskrit, Samudra Ivana Ghoda. Ivana is from the Native American word, a Native American language word for iguana, from which we get the modern English word. And Goda means lizard, to help render it in Sanskrit. And Samudra means marine, or actually means sea, and by extension marine. Now seals. In my previous video, I tried coining a word for seal, and the problem is I really wanted to not use foreign words. In India, there are no seals, so it's going to be a bit difficult. My primary way of doing this was to translate it as water dog or sea dog, because seals are related to dogs closely. So that would be something like Jalashunaha or Jalashauna. Shauna is derivative of dog, and it kind of means of a dog or like a dog, hinting that seals are not that closely related to dogs, but close enough. And thus Jalashova is another one. Then there's also Shvayadas or Shunayadas, Shauvayadas or Shaunayadas. Yadas means an aquatic beast in Sanskrit. So it would be like dog, aquatic beast, or canine, aquatic beast. Then we can use words for sea like Mirashuna or Mirashova, Sagarashuna, Sagarashova, or Sagarashauna, etc., etc. There's an alternative to this, and it was using the word weasel, as actually seals are very closely related to mustelids than to other dogs. Weasel in Sanskrit is kashika, so kashikaya, this, or jalakashika, but this word's only found in the feminine, so I'm just going to stick to the previous way of doing it by basing it off a root for canine. My favorite one would be Jalashauna or Jalashova. Let's go on a tangent. I want to clear the word walrus out of the way. I'm trying not to borrow from an English language. So let's use the Russian word, which is morse or something like that, which is also found in French and Spanish. It ultimately comes from an Uralic word, and you can see that in Finnish, morsa in Northern Sami. So let's render it in Sanskrit as morsha, which we will tack onto the word for seal. So walrus would be something like morsha jalashauna, or we can just say morshayadas, which means walrus, aquatic beast, to make it more friendly to Sanskrit. Now, let's do sea lions. Sea lions are found abundantly in the Galapagos. Now, we have to coin a word for the Otaridae family, which is seals with ears, as most seals don't have ears. So with ears in Sanskrit would be sakarna, and since these seals also happen to have fur, it would be sakesha. I prefer the former as it's closer to the Latin word. Sea lions are so called because of their mane, so let's translate it as maned animal of the water. In fact, actually, we have a Sanskrit word for lion that literally means maned one, and that's keshari. So conveniently, we'll call sea lion jalakeshari. Now, let's look at a chapter or an excerpt from The Origin of Species, which is the book Darwin wrote to solidify the theory of evolution, which actually has been around for a while, including natural selection. Darwin is the one that just kind of compiled everything. Here is an excerpt from chapter 5. Let's read it. This is quite compatible with the action of natural selection, for when a new insect first arrived on the island, the tendency of natural selection to enlarge or to reduce the wings would depend on whether a great number of individuals were saved by successfully battling with the winds, or by giving up the attempt and rarely or never flying. Now, what would that be in Sanskrit? Prakritya varana karmana etadati sangatam. यतः यदा द्वीपे नूतनः कीटः आगच्छत् तदा प्रकृतिः प्रकृतेः आवरणस्य पक्षौ वर्धितुं ह्रसितुं वाश्रयेत् यदि महत्तरः संख्याः व्यक्तीनां वायुभिर्योद्ध्वा रक्षिताः अथवा प्रयोगं न यतन्ते उत्पतनंश्च न कदाचन अपि चेत्. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Soon we're going to be practicing with the real animals.